Hi, this is Tom with Outdoor Miles, and today we are going to build a heated RV water hose. A few things that we have to accomplish the task. We have some heat cable, which is going to be the component that will keep the water from freezing. This is a 100-foot length of heat cable provided by Max Costco, which is available on Amazon.com. Very affordable, excellent reviews, and I have a lot more information on this in my article. We have a RV drinking water hose. You can really use any drinking water hose that you want as long as it is rigid. You can't, the ones that are the kind of the collapsible fabric type of hoses, they won't work in this situation. So it needs to be semi-rigid for this application. We are going to use some heat-resistant tape to attach the wire to the cable to the hose, and some all-purpose duct tape to finally secure everything together after we add our insulation. And we also have some 1-inch inside diameter pipe insulation. It looks like a pool noodle. It goes right over the whole assembly, but don't worry, we'll show you how everything works when we get it all together. So the other thing we have are spigot protectors, outdoor spigot protectors. So these typically go over your spigot in the winter, will prevent it from freezing if you don't have a freeze-proof spigot, and we'll show you how they work. But we're going to adapt these a little bit to insulate the connections to the water inlet, which is the spigot, and also to the RV connection. So we'll show you how these work. Alright, so these are all the items that you're going to need to get your hose connection set up. You can customize it a little bit if you want. There are some other options that folks use, but this is what I'm going to use for my 75-foot heated water hose setup. And I'll also mention that you can buy a pre-built heated water hose. You don't have to build your own. The benefit to doing your own is that you can have any custom length that you need. It's more cost effective in most situations, unless you can get an incredible sale on a heated water hose. And it will also allow you to wrap the spigot and the connections, which will prevent some freezing there. So a lot of people choose to do the DIY option. Some people don't want the hassle, and they're happy just purchasing a heated water hose. But purpose of this video is to show you how to do the DIY heated water hose option. Now, I will put a link to all of the products that I'm using down in the descriptions below. And if you have any questions, leave a comment and I'll let you know. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to make our hookups to this spigot. And the reason that we want to do this first is because we are going to wrap the spigot with the heat cable, and we want to make sure that there's enough heat cable around there, and we have the thermostat set right before we start wrapping everything up along the hose and sealing it up. So that's going to be the first step, and we'll show you that. Okay, so to get started with actually building the hose, what you're going to need after you connect the hose to the spigot is your heat cable. There's a few things to note on your heat cable, and one important thing to look for is the thermostat. This is going to be the sensor that will tell the heat cable to turn on and turn off. And some have an external thermostat, some have a plug-in thermostat. I really like this one because this one will butt up against the pipe or the hose, so it will get an accurate reading of the temperature of the hose, so you're not heating when you don't need to be heating, and you are heating when you do need to be heating. But this thermostat is right at the end of the heat cable, and it's at the point where the heat cable intersects or connects with the plug. So this has the plug attached right to it. It's your standard 120 volt outlet plug. And as I mentioned, the thermostat is at the end of it. So if you want to heat your spigot, you're gonna have to wrap it back around, unless you want to put the thermostat on a spigot. I want to put it right on the hose. So I have to do a little bit of finagling here to make sure that I can get everything set up, taped up, and then move it on down the line. You also want to make sure that your plug is accessible so that you can plug it in, and we'll talk about that later. So what I've done is I've attached the thermostat to the hose. You can see that the thermostat is butting up against actual hose, and I put a lot of reinforcement high heat tape on here. And then I have the heat cable wrapping around this faucet to keep this from freezing. And I will continue then to wrap the heat cable along the length of the hose. Now, one thing to remember is to look at the heat cable that you get, and this is why I really recommend the Max Costco, is that it's a self-regulating heat cable. That means that it's not either on or off. It will adjust the temperature to the need that you have for heating. So if it's really cold, it will, be pulling more amperage, or if it's just right at freezing, it will regulate itself so it can cool down just enough to keep it from freezing. But the other thing I really like about this heat cable is that you can overlap it and you're not going to run into any problems. So if you need to do exactly what I did here and you have this kind of looped up around the faucet, not a problem. And the same will go as you move down the heat cable. Now, the other decision that you need to make is to determine if you're going to wrap the heat cable around the hose or if you're just going to run it parallel to the hose. Now, the reason that you may want to wrap it, which I am, is that you'll get more surface contact and it will provide better heating in situations where you have really, really cold temperatures. There's a chart on the Max Costco product page on Amazon that will tell you if you need to, or will tell you how many wraps you need to do for the diameter of the hose and the length of hose that you're running and the expected temperature. So you can make that decision on your own, but for me, I am going to wrap it. So I have a 100-foot cable and a 75-foot hose. So those wraps are going to be used up on the hose. But if I were to just do a straight run, a 75-foot heat cable would have been sufficient. Okay, so I finished up wrapping the pipe and I taped it. So I'll show you that in just a minute. But between then and now, we had a snowstorm roll in. So it's perfect timing for having this heated water hose because temperatures are definitely staying below freezing quite a bit. So let me show you what we have here. I do have it plugged in to keep it a little bit more flexible as I work with it. But as you can see, I just taped everything along here. I have the thermostat pushing against the hose here. I have it wrapped around the faucet here. Just loosely, we'll be insulating this. And then I went ahead and I wrapped the entire length of it with tape. I had some heat tape that I used. You can see this white stuff here. But then I didn't have enough of it, so I just used heavy duty duct tape for it. I mean, it's not going to get that hot where it's going to be an issue. And this will just hold it in place. The next step is going to be adding the insulation to this, which is just foam tube pipe insulation, the same kind that you use in your house. It looks like a pool noodle. Here's one of them right here.
So I'm just gonna put this along the length of it, and then that part is pretty much done. And then after the insulation is on, I'm gonna tape the entire length of the thing secure with duct tape, and we are almost there. The last step that we will do following that is going to be putting on the housing for the spigot and also the water connection to the RV. That's going to take a little bit of modifications to make sure that it works right and to make sure that everything's secure, but I will show you that when we get there. But as you can see, the heat tape is working, melting that snow. There's no water in this line right now, but the heat cable is on and it is doing its job. And you know, I will recommend that before you get everything finalized and wrapped up and taped up, plug in the heat cable. If the temperature is not that cold, get a cup of ice water, put the sensor in it just to make sure that it's working. You don't want to get done with the entire project and to find out that you have a defective heat cable. Chances are you won't, but it's always good to do that test early on. So here we are. I have the insulation just loosely on here for now. And I will begin to seal it up with duct tape. As you'll see, it's not really sealing all the way around, which it's not supposed to, until we can kind of firm that up with duct tape. Now I did get 1-inch tubing, even for a 5/8 inch hose, largely because of the heat cable and wanting to make sure that I had enough room in there. I may have been able to go with 3/4, saved a couple of dollars, but I think for like $10 more for the whole project, it was worth having a little extra room in there. Now for taping this, I'm going to start at the spigot end and try and keep the insulation closed as good as I can. And then just work my way down, wrapping it around. I do have another roll of silver duct tape if I need it. But this duct tape is all weather, so it's meant for staying on outside. I mean, I'm hoping it will be just fine. But it's good to try and get it as tight as you can. Because it's going to be not so much during the season, but moving it around when you're finished with it for the year, it will be nice to be able to keep everything together without it coming apart. And being a little bit more liberal with the duct tape early on. And I'm just going to repeat this process for all 75 feet. And if my back is not hurting me at the end, then I know I didn't do a good enough job. I'll go ahead and turn the camera off because I don't think anybody's going to want to watch me roll duct tape for the next 20 minutes, but I'll come back and show you what it looks like. All right, here's the connection that I have at the RV. So I just have the heated hose wrapped running up here. I tried to insulate as much as I can around the top here where there's a connection. And then if you can see in here, I have the connection made. And I put on this outdoor faucet cover. I had to cut a hole in the bottom to get that to fit, because it's not meant to be put on while there is a hose on it, but regardless, it works. So this should just provide some extra insulation in there. Everything is heat taped around the inlet, so that should be good. Actually, let me make sure I have the valve open here. The way it works is that you have that latched onto there, and then you could pull this strap taut, and it's on there. I mean, it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's not sealed against it like with glue or anything, but it should be good. I think that will work. All right, let me show you the rest of it. So I have the heat tape, or I have the heated hose running underneath the RV here, all taped up. So here you can see where I ran out of black duct tape, so I have a little bit of a artistic design here on my hose. I completely underestimated the amount of duct tape that I would need. I went through 2.5 rolls of 60-yard duct tape to cover the whole 75-foot hose. And here we go. We have the same setup here. This spigot sticks out more, so I couldn't get that all the way sealed up against the spigot. So I'm probably going to come around here with a little bit of foam insulation or something and just kind of shove it in there just to provide a little bit of extra insulation. But once the temperature, here's the thermostat right here. Once that temperature hits 37 degrees, and it will recognize the temperature of the hose, and when the water temperature is down that low, it will kick on. So my weak spot, I think, is going to be here. So I think if I just reinforce that with some additional insulation, it should be fine, because I think this is going to take a while to get down to freezing temperatures because of the insulation in here. But I think when we're down around like 20 or so degrees, it will start to kick on. But I think around 32, I don't think it's going to be kicking on that much, unless it is consistently at that temperature for a couple of days. So we'll see how it goes. Here's the summertime connection that I have, but we can't use that in the winter. So that's it. That is how you build a DIY heated hose. There's not a whole lot complicated to it. You just need a few materials: heat cable, drinking water hose, pipe insulation, and some tape, and you are good to go. You just have to, the areas that you need to watch out for are just going to be your water connections, to make sure that you have those insulated. I mean, you can wrap the heat cable around it like I did, but that extra insulation will definitely help out. So that's it. That is how you build a DIY heated hose. I have all of the products that I used down in the descriptions. There's also a link to a blog article with this build, so check it out. And if you have any questions, leave a comment and I'll get back to you.